All right. Give it a quick second for some people to join while we share it. Talk.
Oh, I forget it's back. All right,
Yeah, it's going to wait a couple of seconds.
How do I share this thing though?
Welcome. What's up, Mike? How you doing? Can't figure out how to share it?
No, I think I got it.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
Sweet. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Jonathan and Nathan show, kind of a new live series that we're going to be doing here at the Camera Shop of Muskegon. So kind of to begin, kind of talk about the list of different things that we're going to be doing tonight. But as we talk, feel free to to ask us questions in the comments, either on Facebook or YouTube. Ask all your questions, and then at the end, if we have time, we'll answer them just like with the rest of our live videos. But with the Jonathan and Nathan show, it'll be a little bit different tonight than it will be the rest of the time. Most of the time you're going to see on this show, we're going to be talking about kind of camera gear, new stuff that's coming out, kind of camera news in general, as well as we're going to be talking about new products we have in the shop. We're going to feature old products. It's going to be kind of gear oriented and kind of story oriented. But tonight's going to be a little different because we're just going to introduce you guys to Nathan. And we're going to hear his story of how he got started in photography, as well as I'll give like my little 2-minute synopsis because you guys have probably heard it at least once or twice by now, so I won't bore you by taking up too much time with it. However, after we do that, we're going to each be sharing kind of our top 3 photos, our favorite 3 photos of 2020 to then get us into the new year. And then if we have time, we'll also talk about kind of our favorite gear that we either discovered in 2020, favorite gear that came out in 2020, and kind of what we're looking forward to this year as far as the camera world. So to begin, Nathan, welcome.
Thanks.
If you want to kind of, we want to hear your story. So kind of walk us through kind of what started photography with you, how you got into photography, and how that's kind of led you to sitting here next to me.
All right. Yeah. I kind of took an unconventional route and conventional in the same sense. I found myself lying in the woods at 3 a.m. at Michigan State University. It was my junior year of college. And I was looking up at the trees and I was seeing some cool patterns and I was like, I want to recreate this. How do I do this? The very next day, I went into my counselor and changed my major to photography. I had never picked up a camera before prior to this. And I was just like, I think I could recreate what I saw last night with photography. Let's do that. So I switched to that. Started taking classes and I was like, what did I do? Because everyone in the classes, I mean, it's junior year, so everyone's pretty much miles ahead of me and I'm just starting. So I was kind of learning everything on my own. The professors didn't really have time for me to get me caught up with everyone else's skill level. And I just was struggling. And then our final project of that year, I can't remember the name of the project exactly, but basically it gave me an opening to recreate what I wanted to create in the beginning that led me on this journey. And I ended up crushing that assignment and it really solidified, this is what I want to do and keep doing.
That's awesome.
From there, I graduated, 2 years later with my degree in studio art with a focus in photography.
Okay.
And I didn't really know where to take it. I'd always been a huge music enthusiast, went to a lot of concerts. And so I was like, oh, I'll just start bringing my camera to shows and see what happens. So I started doing that, and a couple bands, started recognizing me, and they're like, oh, hey, you're that guy that brings a camera to shows and stuff. Cool. And eventually they asked me if I wanted to manage them. I had never done anything in music other than just going to a concert. So I got in that realm, and I, for 6 to 8 years of my life, I was on the road touring with bands and doing photos. I photographed probably over, I don't know, thousands of bands, tons of music festivals, bands, so that was a lot of fun, and that's where a lot of my passion for photography comes. I shoot, shooting bands and live bands. The rush of being in the photo pit with, the first 3 songs, so like 8 minutes, and trying to get an album of 15 to 20 stellar images. It's not easy, but it's I love it. I love the rush from it. And just how quick it is, and all the lights changing, and you got to know your camera inside and out to really nail those shots.
That. Oh yeah.
Yep. Obviously, because of the pandemic that unfortunately took over our world, the music business is dead currently. And we don't know when it's going to open back up. So I was doing some prints for some of my followers, and I came into the camera shop and I saw a sign, job opening. I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's talk to Craig and see what the deal is. And next thing you know, and do my interview, and I'm hired. So now I'm sitting here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's crazy that it was just like so quick of you. Never like picked up a camera. You never, so like growing up, like never, were you like artistic growing up? Like, did you like to do?
Yeah, I was definitely always an artistic mindset with pretty much everything I did. I love to draw, paint, color, and all that kind of stuff. Really the only experience I've had with cameras prior to college was like, those little disposable wind-ups,
right,
the fun savers stuff, for like family vacations. It's not like not more so like artistic, but
it's your parents are giving you a little camera and you're just capturing whatever's in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's so cool that it was just like this crazy quick, how you're just like, oh, I want to recreate that, and then just go change your major the next day.
A lot of people thought I was crazy.
Let's say, what did your advisor like think of it?
She was like, you realize you're in your junior year of college, right? Like, people don't change their major this late. And I was like, well, sorry, but I'm going to. So, you gotta just accept that, and let's do this. And so she was like, okay. And luckily, a lot of my previous classes transferred over to my new major, or could be used in some form with my new major. So I didn't get set back too far, just a year. But it was worth me having to stay in college an extra year, because I just wasn't happy before. And, that change really changed my life, like immensely. So I'm kind of grateful for that experience, and like having that switch go off in my head and realizing, you're an artistic person and that's your passion. So go for it.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. That's a really cool story for sure. And it's cool to see how you went from, what was your major before?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice, and then to photography. Wow, that's wild.
So with that, I wanted to be a fire investigator.
Oh, okay.
My dad was fire chief for Norton Shores for I think 13 or 14 years. He was a firefighter for 30 or 40 years.
Okay.
So I grew up around the fire department, and I thought that'd be cool. But what I learned was that you don't necessarily have to have your degree in that. You just have to have a degree.
Gotcha. And then
you have to go to the fire academy.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I was like, well, why don't I do something?
Do a degree you enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you can still do that. Okay. That's cool. Did you have you done,
Hey, Pat.
Have you done anything with that yet, or is that more?
No, okay. I fell in love with the camera, and I haven't put it down since. So
yeah, no, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. And it's cool how it's one of those things where you just got recognized from just having your camera, just showing up enough in the bands, and then that translated to then managing bands and having kind of this love of your music and then love of photography kind of joined together to do something that you're enjoying, which is really, really cool.
And I think the bands really took notice early in my career because of my lack of knowledge of photography. I did some really unconventional style of photography. Gotcha. I was doing a lot of multiple exposures in the live music scene, and a lot of bands were like, whoa, I've never seen this kind of like psychedelic photo that is unedited.
Right.
It's all done in camera.
Yeah, which is wild.
And I think that really helped me grow
a lot. Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. That's so cool to hear. Well, we can move on to my quick little minute version, because some of you have heard it, some of you haven't, but a little different to Nathan's. I kind of grew up very artistic as well. Always liked to draw, mostly did drawing growing up. And was first fascinated with video, but specifically stop motion video. So I remember using whatever I could, an old point and shoot. I used a DS with a camera at one point, an iPod, anything I could to do stop motion of Lego and moving the little minifigures around, creating the stories. Because I liked Lego growing up, so I grew up playing with it, and then once I figured out I could make it come to life with video, I was blown away. I was fascinated.
You should see how many Legos me, my brother and sister have still at my parents' house.
That's wild. Oh yeah, I haven't got rid of mine either. They're still under, I think, my brother's bed or something, somewhere.
We just got in a huge text argument with and my fiance's in the group and my brother's wife's in the group, and they're like, you guys need to stop arguing about Legos in our group text. And basically everyone wants their Legos back, and my parents are like, no, they're for the grandchildren.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
But yeah, we were big Lego people too.
Yeah, that's so cool. So yeah, I mean, I grew up doing this kind of little bits of stop motion, I was just kind of fascinated with cameras and all that stuff. I've always been fascinated with just gear and electronics in general. So I grew up looking and researching the different cameras, and also looking at computers and building computers and all that sort of stuff. So all the technology behind the cameras fascinated me a lot as well, which then eventually translated into starting to do photography with my mom in middle school as kind of a side business, side hustle sort of thing. And it started out as my mom would take some photos and I was editing everything. And then also I started taking a lot more of the photos as well, which I liked for a while, mainly because it was just money at the time, but I didn't really have much of the passion for it. And that's why it very quickly died, and by high school I wasn't really doing it anymore, because I was like, this isn't fun. There's no I didn't find it fun at all. It felt like work to me. So then my sophomore year of I continued watching, following the photographers that I'd grown up following, watching that stuff, and then just a couple random YouTube videos got me watching their videos all over again, and all the different tutorials, and some of them were doing vlogs and stuff like that, and just kind of that fire kind of got rekindled a little bit of wanting to explore photography again, which then I ended up doing sophomore year of high school, and kind of junior year of high school. think it was junior year of high school, regardless, in high school sometime. And then hasn't really stopped since. And for the longest time, when I first got back into it, I was like, I'm not doing it all for work because I want to enjoy it. And before, I wasn't enjoying it because it was work. Found out that's not the case at all. I actually really love doing taking other people's photos and capturing those memories. I think I was just young and it was work, so I didn't like it as much in general. However, so for a while I didn't do any paid stuff, just did all like kind of creative, doing whatever I want. And then the last like 2 years started doing kind of paid stuff again. It's been really fun to have that balance of still being able to like do the creative shoots for myself, do these fun different ideas with friends and stuff, but then also be able to help capture people's like really special memories. Like one of my favorite, like I mostly am a portrait photographer, but my absolute favorite shoots to do are proposal shoots. Not engagement shoots after the fact, but the actual proposal, because it's 100% candid. There's no, you can't, it's just all candid.
Yeah, nail your shot though. That's a little scary.
You have to nail the shot. There's
no redos with that.
That's a scary part. With all my other shoots, it's just me. For proposals, I get a second shooter just to 100% be sure. Because you can't fake that authenticity of when he gets down on one knee, opens the ring, and like
how she reacts.
Yeah, how she reacts. Like if you capture that face, like you're golden. Like if that's the only good photo you have from that entire shoot, they're gonna be happy.
That's the only one that matters.
That's the only one that matters. Yeah. So I absolutely fell in love with just capturing that memory, because that's such a special moment for everyone. At whenever at that point in their life. So I've been doing that, as well as then once COVID happened, got sent home from school, was looking for kind of work for the rest of the semester and then the summer, and ended up starting here as kind of whatever, just as help, and then turned into like the social media manager and doing all this kind of stuff very quickly. So I'm the person that's behind all of this, and well, Nathan's behind all the audio stuff because he has amazing audio stuff, but most of the posts and stuff you see, I'm normally behind. So you can always feel free to message me that way on our social media if you have any questions. So yeah, that's kind of our stories. Next thing we want to get into is probably our top 3 photos of the year, I would say. But first, welcome for the people who have joined in the last kind of 15-ish minutes here. Good to see all of you. You guys are very welcoming of Nathan, it looks like, in the comments. Happy New Year, Christine. Be thinking of your questions, guys, as we go along. Feel free to ask questions. If it pertains exactly to what we're talking about, then we'll stop. If not, we'll just save them all for the end. Those questions can be personally related, camera related, can be anything, unless it's something we don't want to answer and then we want to answer. But for the most part, just feel free to shoot with them. But so we'll get into the top 3 here. We can start with you, Nathan. Double check to make sure that we're actually seeing this here. Nope. There we go. So we're going chronological. So we're doing third favorite to our first favorite. So we're letting you do 3, 2, and 1 first. So just share the story behind these photos, what you like about them, why it was the third spot, maybe why it wasn't the first spot. Just feel free to talk about each of them.
So this guy, I have a love and fascination with abstract and psychedelic art. I do a ton of these, like they're called tiny planets, but then I'd like to push it and manipulate it even more. And so when COVID all happened, I did 2 series because I couldn't shoot music anymore. So I was like, what do I do? And so I was like, I'm going to do an abstract series and then a self-portrait series, where I think I shot and released 1 photo every day for however long that quarantine, the first lockdown was, where
Oh.
like you couldn't leave your
That
house
was
or
what,
whatever.
like a month?
Something
Couple
like
months,
that.
something like that?
Month and a half maybe.
Man, photo every day.
Mm-hmm.
That is wild.
And I shot it the same day that I
and
upped it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I just really wanted to push myself to stay creative and shoot, but also kind of put me, take myself out of the box of like my normal. I'm shooting 12 concerts this weekend,
Yeah.
and do some stuff that I was doing in college more,
Gotcha.
more of that artistic stuff. So this guy, it was taken with my Mavic Air 2, and then manipulated. I believe this is Whitehall.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure it's Whitehall. And it was in the summer. And I don't know, I just love how the road in the bottom right carries your eye to the center.
Yeah, I mean the leading lines is beautiful in this because it brings you all the way around right to the center, and then you have the really nice waves of the beach around it.
So this one's called Road to Nowhere, is what I named it. I don't know. I like to put a name to every.
That's cool. That's something I've
every
never done,
image.
but I like the idea of naming.
I feel like when you put a name to an image, it sticks in your head, because my goal is I never want to forget any image that I produce or put out there.
Oh, I really like that.
I got that from the movie. Have you seen the movie Kodachrome?
Mm-mm.
Okay, watch it.
Okay.
It's like I don't know. It's not like an amazing movie, but it's cool. It's based on this photographer guy. Okay. I think it's based on a true story.
Oh, okay.
And he shoots on Kodachrome and everything. And basically him and his son don't have a good relationship. And he's talking about, just photographing digital. And this guy shot film. And he's like, I remember every single shot I've ever taken. And I was like, I kind of want to do, that's why I started putting names to every image that I put out there, other than the live band stuff, just because that I just have to produce.
Yeah. That's different than something that like you're really doing for yourself and going for.
Exactly.
No, I think that's really cool. I think the tiny planet stuff is so cool. I've never tried it, but I definitely want to try it at some point because I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's just different and it's fun, and you can do so much with it.
Yeah, that's cool. Let me double check comments right before we get through. All right, perfect. Go back. All right, so number 2 spot. Tell us about this one.
So this was around Halloween, obviously. Okay. It's my fiance's best friend and their other friend, Jackie and Lauren. Okay. It was the first shoot that I got to do with my friend Ryan Miller, who's a phenomenal professional photographer in Muskegon. If you don't know him, check him out. Okay. His work is awesome. But we've been meaning to shoot together for like 2 years, and like while I was in the music business, I was like, I never have time.
You're just
I'm in a different state all the time, and it was tough to link up. But finally, this pandemic gave us an opportunity to link up, and we're like, let's do something creepy and kind of Halloween-ish, because it was Halloween.
Yeah.
And this was the last shot of the shoot. We were running out of light because we got set up late because they took forever for their makeup, which it made it look awesome though.
Yeah.
But we were running out of light, and we were down at the beach, and I was like, I want to nail this shot, and I don't have enough light. So I pushed my ISO more than I probably should have, but I kind of like the grain that it gives.
Yeah.
But I had to use like a small little pocket flashlight to light them. Otherwise they were black.
Wow. It was that dark.
Yeah, it was dark.
Crazy.
And I got this, and it was my favorite shot of the entire, hour and a half that we shot for.
It's such a unique style for sure. Those creative shoots, I think, are so fun to do because it's just something so different.
Right.
And I think it does so much when you're trying out a different genre or trying out something specific. Those shooting with other people can be super fun. Yeah. Like if you're with the right photographers, it can be really fun.
And I learned a lot from Ryan during the shoot, just like, because he does a lot of portrait stuff, and I'm not as familiar with that kind of
that's fair.
thing. And I learned a lot, like how he poses people, how he
Mhm.
interacts with people during these things.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to shoot with him. And then obviously our two models were excellent. They do a lot of this. They model for a lot of photographers and stuff.
That's
and like, so they were naturals with it, and it made
Right.
it super
Made
easy
it
for
super
me.
easy. Yeah.
But yeah, I just love the way this image came out, and
Yeah.
and kind of the darkness of it all.
I'm gonna say, yeah, that's a cool story behind it. That's really awesome. All right, and favorite one of the year.
So this was part of the self-portrait series
Okay.
that started everything during the quarantine. Yeah, I call this a two-sided coin, and it kind of speaks for itself. I mean, you don't really know what's going on.
What? Yeah.
It's obviously edited.
Did you do any of it in camera, or did you take the two photos and then?
I did the two photos. Yep.
Okay.
This one is edited fully. Yep. Between the two
That
photos.
is so cool. It so messes with you.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's it takes pieces of each side of my face, and it messes with myself too, even though I know.
I know, it's like it's trying to figure out where that line was of where it's brought in, because some part, like,
well, the line
not,
itself is like kind of like
totally
right,
because what, it comes down here
and
then has to come around. Did you use the white to bring it down, or no?
No. So the forehead of the face looking sideways, not straight on, was actually, I had to erase to make it look like a forehead. So that's actually the forehead of my straight looking face.
Oh, and you erased it. Okay,
yeah.
I gotcha.
Up to the eye. No, I think the eyebrow is actually the straight face too.
The eyebrow
so
looks
the
straight.
Side face is the top of the nose down to just below the chin.
The chin. Okay. That is cool.
But
that's a really unique photo, I feel like.
But that was, I think there was like anywhere from 15 to 20 self-portraits that I did
during that
time
series. Okay.
And this was by far my favorite.
Yeah.
If we could get into them all, I would, because each one was special to me. It was trying to come up with that many self-portraits back to back for 15 or 20 days straight, however long it was,
and then being this unique too.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what I tried to do. Set the
bar with like that.
each one I wanted to be super different.
Yeah.
From each other.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I really wanted to pull my creativity out and push it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's such a cool photo. It takes like self-portraits to a whole new level. I'm terrible at self-portraits. I don't think I've done them well. Like, I haven't done them enough. So like the most self-portraits I've ever done have been like the ones for here, where I'm setting up a tripod and pressing the button and running around to try to like hold up the camera. This
series of self-portraits, I had maybe done 2 or 3 self-portraits ever before this.
That's so cool.
So
yeah, that's sweet. I mean, I definitely understand why it's the top. That's really awesome. Well, all right. To get into,
let's see yours.
My third one. So this is of it's that train bridge in Grand Haven. Like as you're coming over the bridge into Grand Haven, it's on the right side. I think I've shown this photo before in a photo stories. I think we did. I think I showed this with Kenny. But this was kind of like special. And the reason why I did my top 3 is this was also during quarantine. This was the first time I really just kind of like went out to just go take photos by myself. I'd been very used to taking photos of friends, like doing mostly portrait stuff. I haven't done a lot of landscape stuff. It's mostly been portrait stuff, and I've never really gone out a lot on my own because I've always been taking photos of other people. So it was just one day I was ready to get out of the house. I was ready to just go shoot something. So I was like, all right, I'll just go walk. brought a tripod, set this up, took this photo. In camera, nothing looked good. I didn't think it was going to work out. So I very much edited it to make it look the way it does, to give it that super moody and kind of grungy look. I'm super happy with how it turned out. I really like the leading lines of it. That draws you right into the center of the bridge. Also, it's just kind of like a unique bridge in and of itself, because it's always it's mostly perpendicular to the actual railroad, which most bridges aren't like that. So it's, you know, kind of a unique composition in
Right.
that. And this ended up being one of my first prints I sold this year.
Cool.
Yeah, of someone just messaging me like, hey, I want a print of that. And I was like,
Was it on metal?
I was like, you do? No, dude, I didn't even know metal existed at the time. Now I'd love to get this in metal.
Yeah, it would be,
But,
this especially would look killer on the metal.
Now you're tempting me. I might have to order metal of that.
I love the metals.
We'll see. I got that metal of my top one, which we'll talk about, and it's amazing. I want to only ever print in metal now. But no, this was what, back in March or April or something. So this was before, actually before I even knew the camera shop really was here, because I've grown up in Michigan. I've grown up in West
So
Michigan.
would you shoot this
like,
on? Because you didn't have your Sony at the time, right?
No, this was a Nikon D5600 with
Cool.
just the kit lens.
Okay.
And yeah, it worked. So second top photo. Oh, that's not the second top. Second top photo is actually one I took like a couple weeks ago, but kind of blew me away. So this is the second roll of film. Yeah, second roll of film that I've ever shot during my first actual shoot for film. I decided to try out one of the film cameras that we have, because the shop, we have like a ton of gently used film cameras. If you guys didn't know, we also develop film and we sell lots of different film as well. But so I decided, I was like, hey, I want to take one of these out and I want to get familiar with it. So then for the most part, so then when people come in and have questions, I can like look at the camera and actually have somewhat of an idea of what's happening, instead of just being like, I don't know anything about this. So
Craig.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Craig, there's another film camera. He wants to turn it on. I don't know how. But the most basic stuff. So my goal was to learn enough about them so I could do the basic stuff. My first roll was kind of, I went back to Jackson, Michigan. If you guys follow our social media, I posted like a photo of one of their murals that they have this summer. Went back to kind of try to capture more murals with it, because it's a really cool city in like the middle of nowhere in Michigan, that they just have like these giant murals all over the city. Super cool place. But so I went back, kind of just, you know, used the camera as a tourist, just kind of taking photos of like whatever. Got a couple that I was happy with, but you know, it was very general, just all right, they're basic photos. But then I went out again with my friend, who's now become like my favorite model to take photos of, because it just works really well. And he's actually like pretty natural with it for this kind of like style I was going for. But so we went out to what is it, the coffee factory in Muskegon is where that big old some abandoned building is. Anyways, we went there.
By Fricano's you're talking?
I think so.
Or by the
coffee factory is in there. Like it's like down here.
Oh, so it's not the abandoned one.
It's not fully abandoned. No, I think there's like apartments and stuff.
Okay, I thought you did shoot at the fully abandoned one.
Is there a fully abandoned one?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. So this was at like the semi-abandoned one, that when you go onto like the other side of it, there's a big abandoned part. But
this is like downtown.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know Muskegon well, but I think it was like really downtown. But anyways, so we went here, started just kind of shooting whatever, getting a feel for one, being at a prime lens, because I use zoom lenses. So being at a fixed 50 was just different. And also for a lot of the photos I wanted to do, 50 was pretty tight as well. Like I was thinking of doing like these wide photos with the big building in the background. It didn't work, but some of them did. But anyways, we got to this photo. This was us. It was kind of a cool story, because this was one that I hadn't planned. We just kind of were like walking across the parking lot. The sun had finally just risen right above the building. And I was like, ooh, Gavin, stop there for a second and just like, look at me. and I like started to frame up. I take forever to focus a manual lens because I'm not used to it yet. So it was taking forever to try to focus it. Had the nice kind of halo light all around him. And then he was just breathing and I saw the puff of smoke and I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I was like, Gavin, all right, on count of 3, let out like a big breath and then just like strike a plain face. Don't make it look like you're breathing. And he did that and I somehow caught it. And I'm like super happy with how this turned out.
Okay. So with film, did you touch this up at all in Photoshop?
In Lightroom, I did. I touched some. I played around with some contrast a little bit. I made it a little. I helped so I know some people might not like that I did any editing, but I mean, I think regardless, photography is art, so whatever works for you.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But so the film, at least the film that I was using, which was, I forget what it is. The like Ektar? No, is it Ektar? I don't remember what the first film that I used.
Have Kodak Blue or no? Or
no,
Kodak Gold?
Kodak Gold. Yeah. I think it was Kodak Gold. It didn't separate him enough from the background. Like he felt too flat to me. But I still wanted to maintain the grunge, the look, the color as much as possible because I liked the color it was producing. Mm-hmm. So I just played around just slightly with some stuff just to try to help him kind of pop a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't want to over edit film because then I feel like there's no reason to shoot film because if you like,
that's kind of the whole purpose of film.
Exactly.
Like,
at that point, I might as well use my Sony, way bump up the ISO to give myself the grain and then like just change the colors to make it look like that. Like, you know, it's the whole point of it. I know there's a point of shooting film to make it as raw as possible, but I just changed the slightest little bit to make it my style at least. But no, for like a first real portrait shoot of this, I was super happy with it and am like super pumped to keep doing film because I really, really enjoyed it. But the last photo, I think I've also shown this one in a shop story. Not a shop story, the photo stories with Kenny. But this is my top photo of 2020. This might also be my favorite photo I've ever taken, potentially. Also, the first photo that I got printed on a big old metal, and it's beautiful on metal. But so this was another kind of first. I did a lot in 2020 of crossing off things on kind of my bucket list for photo shoots and different things. So I finally decided to just buy steel wool one day because I wanted to try it. And then I somehow convinced friends to go with me. Basically, we went to this big old park. We also were looking for somewhere that was spread out enough that nothing would light on fire. We were trying to be as responsible as we could while swinging fire in a circle above.
Yeah, you're talking to a possible future fire investigator. No,
we were very safe. He's right backed up by the water. We were all right. But no, so this was the first shoot that we did with this. It took, I don't know, we had like 15 tries because we had 15 little things you could like the seal wool. Yeah. And this was by far my favorite one because I really liked the symmetry of it. I liked that nothing was falling in front of the camera, that it all went back behind the camera. Because the majority of the time, the ones you see are kind of just everywhere, which I like, but I also really like just the symmetry of this overall photo. I definitely did a lot of post-processing in this to get rid of the stars behind and darken him up so the main focus was the circle and then the lines. But no, this is probably right now, this is probably my favorite photo I've ever taken, and just got the print back last week of that metal, and I'm so pumped to hang it up because I'm super pumped with it. But
yeah, I saw that as well. It looked really good on the metal. But then again, I'm also a sucker for metal. Ever since Justin, who used to work here, told me to print on metal, I don't think I've printed anything.
Like anything. Yeah.
At least for my personal self.
Right.
You know, that's not on the metal.
Yeah, you can't control what your clients are printing. You can just tell them, oh, you're only allowed to print on metal. I don't know if my clients would appreciate that, but
especially for like a graduation shoot, just get like 100 wallet size metal prints. That'd be kind of cool though.
That actually would be really cool. it would be super expensive, but
Yeah.
it would be really cool to like that would set you apart. All your friends have these little pieces of paper and you're
Mhm.
just like, here you go, and it's just a little metal
Yeah,
3x5.
That'd be sick.
That'd be so cool, actually. But no, I love metal and just cemented how much I like this photo in it for sure. And I'm definitely already planning on trying stuff with seal wool. I just bought some paint powder today. So once it snows a ton, I'm going to have someone dress in like all black and we're going to like do paint powder shoots, which I've never done before, but I think it'll be interesting.
I've seen a few like TikTok photographers that do that.
I saw someone do it a couple of years ago and I thought it was cool and I just haven't been able to since.
It is. It's super cool, especially if you do it in a unique way, because there are a lot of people that do that.
I got I forgot. I don't have TikTok, but I forgot that's one of those popular ones right now.
Yeah,
figure out one way to make it unique.
It's cool because you can. There's a lot of photographers on there, and they're doing a lot of cool things. But I've been meaning to do a paint powder shoot myself too. But I want to do it with smoke grenades too.
That's what I want to do. I want to do smoke grenades, but they're just expensive. Smoke grenades are like
especially like those canister ones.
Like the good ones that last like a minute or 2 minutes or whatever. So I was like, I'll do the paint powder first, because I got like a variety pack of bags, use a couple of bags, see how it looks, and then I'll probably eventually try the smoke and then try to do, I think doing them together would be really cool to have like smoke in the background.
Are you gonna do that shoot
the paint
here in Muskegon, or
I mean,
at school?
Want me to do it in Muskegon?
I would like to shoot that too.
I'd be down. I'd be totally down to do that
because I've been meaning to do that. That'd be sick.
I know paint powder I'm gonna do some paint powder at school with some friends, but no, we definitely will shoot this summer.
Cool.
I think that would be a blast. That would be fun. But so that's our 6 photos. That's our top 3 photos of the year. We'll go back here and there is some things. Self-portrait, darkroom, or digital. Your self-portrait, your top photo was digital, right?
Yeah. All 3 were digital.
Those were all digital. Okay. Self-portrait was fantastic. Woohoo, Nathan. Thanks, Chris. So explain the metal print process, please. Okay, so there's basically plenty of different things you can print on. We have a whole variety of regular prints, canvas, metal. Metal is something that's definitely started to become a lot more popular recently. Before it was always like everyone was getting photos printed on canvas, or just on regular like matte and glossy prints. So metals,
I'll grab one.
Yeah, just grab a metal. Basically, the gist of a metal is you're printing right on the actual metal itself, which means you have a really thin and a really, really sharp photo. That's a really, really good example. This is from our store ambassador, Kenny Heckheis. It's printed on, you can see how thin it is. You're great job modeling it. Has a nice little mount that sets it up from the wall. And with that, just like with regular photo prints, we also have different finishes. So there's basically, you still have like your glossy and your matte finish, but you also have the regular metal and then the white metal you can print on. So like that photo of Chicago from Kenny was a white metal. The photo I got personally was a white metal. I don't know if you print on white metal or do you print on regular metal?
Depends on the subject.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you won't be able to see it well over the live, but we do have like 4 of the same photo and all the different finishes. So if you stop in, we can totally show you. I personally really like the white metal glossy because it's the closest I've ever seen to something being to like a physical of what it looks like on the computer.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it looks, I got my number 1. I got that steel wool photo printed as well. And it looks nothing like how that metal looks. The metal looks exactly the right colors, the right brightness. A lot of problems I have with regular printing. A lot of times my photos come out darker than I want them to be, because I tend to do more darker tones and darker themes and warmer tones. So you have to like brighten your photos before you print them regularly. But with metal, it's going to be almost exactly what you pick, which means the color reproduction is super good. They're super sharp because there isn't a texture. There's no texture of like the paper or texture that you get in canvas. It really does look almost exactly like what you see on a computer when you're editing them.
I agree.
So I don't know if you have any other notes with that for metal, because I know you have a little more.
I don't know if you touched on how light they are, but
oh yeah,
super light.
They look so heavy. Like I wasn't gonna order one for my dorm room because I have to use like the command hooks and everything to hang stuff. And then I actually picked up like Kenny's, which is the same size, and I was like, whoa, this is super light. Yeah, because it's just printed on. I think it's printed on aluminum if I remember correctly. So they're crazy light and super easy to hang as well. So yeah, hopefully that kind of answered your question. Let us know if you want more information on them. Yeah, thank you, Haley, for sure. So we have we have some more time, so feel free to ask more questions. We'll basically answer we'll quick talk about our favorite gear super quick of 2020. And then we'll answer some questions. So Nathan, can either be favorite gear that came out this year, favorite gear you just discovered, favorite gear you've been already using for 10 years and just really liked it this year. What kind of was like, you don't have to have a top whatever, just what was a couple or one even of like your favorite gear this year?
The thing that I used the most this year would be my Nikon 50 millimeter 1.8 lens. I bought it probably 2 years ago and I hadn't used it until this year.
Oh, okay.
Because with, concert photography, I use one lens because I only like to have one body with me.
Yeah.
And I don't have time to change out lenses and everything.
What lens do you use for that?
70 to 120.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the kit lens that came with the Nikon D750.
Right.
And I've taken pretty much every photo up until this year with that lens.
Wow.
That I've ever taken.
Okay.
So it's a very versatile lens.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was like, well, I got this 50 millimeter. I got to do some self-portraits and I want to do a couple different things. So let's start busting this thing out and using it. And I love everything about it. The bokeh, everything. It's super clear. And I think I've only used that lens
since
this year. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay.
But yeah, I think that, trying to think here. I shoot everything with my Nikon D750.
Yep.
Although I did start getting into more video stuff, and I want to get a 7 AE. What was the one you recommended?
A7C, maybe.
Yes.
That's what we talked about. Okay.
I want to get one of those. Hopefully this year.
Okay.
To do more video stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that 50 mil just changed the game for portraits, and I did a lot of, family portraits and graduation pictures, which I had never done up until this year because, well, a handful, but for the most part, I had never done just because I was so busy with the music stuff. And the 50 mil helped me with those shoots a ton.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
fair. No, nifty 50s are awesome. They're such great lenses. The A7C was huge this year. That was basically for the last 2 years, Sony's had a camera called the A7 III, which has kind of been their Swiss Army knife of full frame mirrorless cameras. And they basically stepped it up by coming out with the A7C in the later part of 2020, which was basically a A7 III, but like shrunken down. So it's now the smallest full frame mirrorless camera on the market. And it has all of the updated autofocus system, and it's their newest camera right now. So it's an absolute beast for video. It's super small and compact, so it's still taking full frame, super high quality photos as well. So for like, it's really right now like the best of a lot of both worlds for either people who like want to do travel photography, who are traveling wherever, but also want to have like the best images possible. Because it's super small and compact. You can keep little small lenses on it and just throw it in a bag, throw it in a purse, whatever, and it's super small and compact while still being a full frame camera. And also the video is now amazing for it because it has one of the most updated autofocus systems that only the A7S III and the A7R4 have right now, which is amazing. But for kind of some of the biggest, I'll talk about like quick some of the top things I saw in just the photography world and camera world in general. Was again from Sony with the A7S III that came out. They basically completely have redesigned the video camera and knocked it out of the park as far as video. I won't worry about the specs, but right now there's nothing that can really beat that camera as far as video goes. It's a super, super good camera. Also on like the Canon side of things, Canon knocked it out of the park, coming out with the Canon R5, the Canon R6, two amazing full frame mirrorless cameras that are really rivaling companies like Sony right now, having super good photos and super good videos. I think they're going to do I think they're going to keep going this year. I think they're probably going to come out with a lot more stuff. Whereas a lot of people say like Nikon and Sony kind of took the year off. Canon came out big with those cameras, and I bet they're going to keep going. They have no reason to stop now. So those are kind of the big cameras. As far as my personal favorites right now, I did get a Sony A7R4 earlier in the fall. Have been using it ever since. Absolutely love that camera. I also have with it a Sigma 24-70 f2.8, which basically lives on that thing. That's what I do for all the video, most of my photos, all of that. And then with it, I also bought a Sigma 100-400, which is also a fantastic lens for, I've done like super telephoto portraits of it, which is a unique kind of way to do portraits that I really found out I enjoyed. We went to like a long road, and I told them to just walk forever, went all the way up to 400. So they were still like a normal size. And the compression is just crazy all the way at 400. So it got really unique photos that I was actually super happy with. So, and I'll continue to use that lens a ton. It's great for wildlife if you want to do stuff like that. So that's like my current kit right now. Microphones, I actually just ordered a Rode Video Mic NTG, which basically, if you guys know anything about Rode's microphones, they have the Rode Video Mic series, and then they have the Rode NTG, which is basically the Video Mic series is an on-camera shotgun microphone. It's super popular. Almost everybody like who is doing video probably has one, or at least knows what they are. And then the NTG is like their serious shotgun microphones that are crazy expensive. And, it's for a full-on production where it's being either boomed or put on a boom pole. Like most people aren't going to ever use that or know what it is. So they brought those together and made the Rode Video Mic NTG, which is basically an on-camera microphone version of the NTG. It has a ton of different features at a really, really good price for what it is. One of my favorite features is it has a full dial, so it lets you control the volume right on the microphone. Also, it gives you a safety track, which I really like safety tracks because if someone is talking too loud, once audio is peaked, you can't do anything about it. It's just like highlights in photos. If your whites are too white, you can't bring them back down. So having a safety track built into the microphone, not having to have an external recorder or anything to do that, is really a game changer. So I ended up going with that over really the rest of them because it's their newest, best mic, and it's even cheaper than some of their other mics. So it's a super good, affordable option. But so that's the like super quick top gear of the year. What we're gonna answer questions. Yeah. So feel free to ask questions for you guys hanging out. We'll go for a few minutes. We'll answer however many questions you guys ask. Main one we have right now is we're from Jack. We're using a tripod for that steel wool pick. Jack, absolutely. I was using a tripod for that steel wool pick. To get something like, where is it? To get something like this photo, it's a long exposure, which means your shutter is staying open for a couple of seconds. In my case, I was doing between 10 to 15 seconds for these, so it could capture all the sparks that were coming. That's basically how these photos are taken. This looks nothing like what you see in real life. Basically, in real life, you have whoever's doing it spin it, and you just see a ton of different sparks just going off in a million different places. And then using a long exposure, so setting your tripod to like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, that captures all of that motion that's happening during that, all those sparks that create those trails, and then you're left with something like that. But because it's a long exposure, that means you absolutely have to use a tripod. And yeah, I guess that kind of answers it. Basically, I mean, most of the settings I was doing is I had it at f8 because I wanted to capture as much information as possible. And then I also just I had my ISO at like 100. I think I kept it as low as possible. And then if you're at like 10 to 15 seconds, at least for my camera, my lens, my whole setup, steel wool we were using, how bright it was that night, all of those factors play in. So it takes some trial and error in those first couple little poofs of steel wool or whatever you'd call it, the little pads or something. It took me a couple of tries to dial in the photos, and then this was I think the fourth one that I actually took, but like the first one where I had everything dialed in and I was like really happy with the results. And you can do above like that. We also did ones where we like did them in figure eights and we did them sideways. Had one where like had someone doing the circle and walked back, so it looked like there was a big tunnel of like steel wool. You can make it look like the whole on. I forget that guy from the Marvel movies that the circle kind of looks like his portals.
I can't tell you.
I don't remember. Who knows? But there's a lot you can do, and you can be really creative with it. And that's why I think it's super fun. And really why it was on like my bucket list of photo shoots to do for like the longest time. So yeah, hopefully that answers. You said thanks, so hopefully it did. From Rick Holland here. He said, newbie here, got the Sony a7 II. How do I know what lens can be used? Oh, Rick, I remember you stopping in a couple of times. I think we talked about that a7 II for a while. Super glad you picked that up. It's a fantastic camera. So as far as how do you know what lens can be used, you're going to look for lenses that are specifically made for what's called the Sony E-mount. That's basically every camera has a mount that's dedicated to that camera. Even like Nikon has multiple mounts based on the camera. Canon has multiple mounts based on what camera it is. Sony basically has two mounts. They have an A mount and an E mount. A is an older mount. They don't really use it anymore. So you're going to look for the Sony E mount on the end of whatever lens you get. With that, you can look for either Tamron lenses, Sigma lenses, or Sony lenses as well, are kind of the three main ones that we keep in stock. We have a pretty good stock of all of those, so that helps kind of give a really good variety to more budget-friendly options all the way to like, you know, the best of the best. And also, I mean, Sony's a good choice if you want to get into full-frame mirrorless because it's been around long enough that there's a really, really good and wide variety of different lenses, both new and used, that you can do. Mm-hmm. So it is a really solid option kind of overall to think about. But yeah, so you're looking for the Sony E-mount for future lenses, basically. So we'll give a couple more minutes to anybody if they want to ask questions. Like I said before, it can be about anything, everything, whatever. It can be specific for certain cameras like Rick had, or it can be specific questions about us. If you want to ask Nathan an embarrassing question, you can do it. So yeah, feel free. Rick, we'll look forward to seeing you. And we can definitely talk about different lenses that'll be fit best for your needs. Think if I remember correctly, I think you were doing some car stuff. So I think you were doing car stuff on the track. So we'll look at some faster, longer lenses for that. Something like a 70 to 200 2.8 would be really good. Or something like the 100 to 400 from Sigma that I have is a solid option as well. But regardless, there's a very wide variety of different lenses that you can do. also, while we wait a couple more minutes, if anyone else has questions, we can talk about kind of some other announcements, I guess, to kind of keep going. Our hours right now have changed. We are open 11 to 5 and on Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays 10 to 2. Basically, our goal was to, instead of being at 4, try to close at 5. So it gives people an extra hour who can't really get out of work and get to us on time. So that's the gist of that. Other than that, on Thursday, we have our first in-person camera class in, I think, over a year, something like that. Long time. That is unfortunately already filled up, so there's no more spots for that. But that's going to basically walk you through a introduction to your camera. We're going to talk about all that fun stuff. Keep a lookout for that, because if that goes well, which I don't see why it wouldn't, but if it goes well, we'll try to do more of those in the summer. We're potentially going to try to figure out how to do an online version, so then it could maybe cater to more people who can't get in the store, or because we have to have really limited classes right now. We can't have 30 or 40 people like we used to. That class is limited to 8 people just because of COVID guidelines. We want to make sure we're able to spread everybody out and can keep everybody safe. So they're super limited right now. And with me going back to school, won't be able to teach them. So just keep a lookout for the summer. Hopefully we'll be able to either have more of those classes or expand the size of the classes at all. So if you're interested in that, let us know, and keep a lookout for that on our Instagram and Facebook. But it looks like there's no more questions. So we'll kind of wrap up the very first episode of the Jonathan and Nathan show. Future versions, future episodes are going to be kind of similar to this. We'll talk more about gear stuff. We'll talk about kind of camera news, what's happening at the shop, different products, stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of this fun kind of thing. You can come hang out with us, ask questions. We're going to hopefully do this weekly or bi-weekly starting toward the end of January. So keep a lookout on Facebook, keep a lookout on Instagram. And like I said, we'll either be doing it weekly or bi-weekly, just depending on scheduling stuff. And I think that's going to be a super good time.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me, Nathan.
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody watching. Do you have anything else? Last things to say?
Come visit me at the shop. I'm new. I want to get to know all of you.
There you go. Yeah. Come visit Nathan. And yeah, have a great rest of your night and have fun shooting.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.